when we do these contour drawings, these weighted contour drawings, you should now be employing all of the tools that we've used up to this point. And this should carry out for any assignment that we do throughout the semester. So what we don't want to do is go around with a pencil. I'm now doing like a pencil sketch and do an outline of the object. Remember, that's just going to flatten it out. Outlines are also just way more complicated. I'm having to track all kinds of information as I go. Now, like for a lot of people, it's possible. We've developed the ability to track all this information and get a reasonably accurate, I'm going pretty fast too, but like a reasonably accurate outline of the thing. That's not very informative, because then as I start to come back in and have to put stuff in, it's all disconnected. What we want to do is take what we learned from gesture drawing, notational drawing. I would be using the 6H pencil, the light pencil. Just trust your hand-eye coordination, trust your system to do a good drawing of this object. Notice that I'm like not just going around the perimeter, I'm letting my eye wander across the entire image, so I'm getting like a more three-dimensional account of the thing at the beginning. This shouldn't take any more than 30-45 seconds. We want to always get our images on there as quick as possible. Okay, that took me about as long, maybe even went faster than putting in the outline. And I got way more information. I have all the surface information as well as the outline information. It's a lot of times it's easier to find the outline when I'm working on surface, because on surface, like here on the boot, I just have this shape. I just have that shape. And that shape related to like this shape here is an easier structural relationship to see than it is to see this line over here related to that line. Now that I've got that quick sketch on there, we're basically just doing the gesture structure hybrid at this point. I'd slow down, use my structural looking, and refine the drawing a little bit. So I'm looking at angles, I'm looking at all of the information we look at structure drawing. I can use the shoelace here. Notice as I'm doing this, I'm also starting to add more detail and be more specific, but not terribly detailed yet. You really don't want to do too much detail in the pencil. You want to leave that for the pen. If you move to, no, okay, I got the shoelace too short, so that's a structural thing I can correct. If you draw every perfect detail in pencil, when you go back over it in pen, you're just going to trace it. And you're going to be really worried about, oh my God, I got to get that line exactly right. If you're drawing like that, it's going to be really stiff. You want the finished piece to actually feel like a first-time response to the visual stimulus, to the thing that you're looking at. So you want in the pencil drawing just the right amount of information that you have confidence going forward, that you have like a general map of the thing. You're not going to get too far off. If you need to work out any like scratchy, scribbly stuff, get that out in pencil. I would suggest trying not to do any of that. Just let your lines be confident. Drawing is lying. We're lying that there's a two-dimensional object. Or we're lying that there's a three-dimensional object where really there's only a two-dimensional set of lines. So for a lie to be successful, it has to be told with confidence. And confidence doesn't mean that you know you can do it. That's called surety. You're sure that you can do it. Confidence is just being willing to go ahead and do it and, you know, not take a hit to your self-esteem if it doesn't come out well. So you draw with confidence. You draw with this attitude of like, well, I hope it goes well. I'm willing to try it. And if it doesn't, oh well, I'm not a terrible person. I just made a crappy drawing, and the worst that could happen is I made a crappy drawing. And this guy that's teaching this class, he kind of wants me to take that risk, so I'm not going to get too bad of a grade. It's not like the gates of hell are going to open up and swallow me and I'm going to sit on a chair of like hepatitis-ridden needles for the rest of my life or something like that. Get my guts eaten by bats every morning. None of that's going to happen. So just draw with confidence. Probably not going to be perfect. No one's going to know the difference anyways. If you hung this in a gallery, we wouldn't hang this photo of the shoe right next to it for people to compare. That would be crazy. We're just trying to get a convincing lie. So the point of that is I'm not getting all hesitant with my lines. I'm just doing nice, confident, bold lines. It's not perfect. No big deal. Remember, this should be in the 2H. This should be in your lighter pencil. Now, just because I'm saying we can lie and, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't mean we're trying to get super sloppy either. We're trying to get pretty close to the thing. That's the point of what we're doing. We are trying to get good at this, but I don't expect you to be good at it right out the gate. What I don't want, though, is a lot of hesitation. Scritchy, scratchy lines. Chicken scratch. Alright, and you'll see as I'm working this out, I'm using like the negative space here and structural looking to see, okay, I got this. This needs to be a little bit shorter here. I'm assessing like this part bends in relationship to this part. Alright, and at this point I've got about all the details I need. That should be enough for most people. Okay, so that took me about 7 minutes. I got that initial drawing on there in like 30-45 seconds, and then to refine it took me about 7 minutes. So this really shouldn't take you much more than 10-15 minutes. I know I'm going to go faster than most of you just because I've got more experience. Alright, then at this point you would switch over to the pen and be drawing contour lines only with line weight. When you do this, don't just trace, add more detail. So I'm adding like the detail of all these strings here. Remember, you're trying to keep the lines broken up. You're trying to use this sense of line weight. What we don't want is we don't want you to go color in the blacks. Don't do that. We'll get there. This one's just pure line drawing. And you're trying to break these edges up into as many different contour lines as possible. So it's okay if you start and stop a line. Don't feel like they have to be connected all the way around. That's actually bad. Notice like this leather has some thickness to it, so I'm going to give some thickness to it. So we want to be specific. We want to see as many details as possible. We can get some of the texture in here. We don't want to go overboard. I don't want you like doing hatching or shading either. Don't try and represent light and dark. Just break it all down into line. Alright, so I don't need to finish the whole drawing. That's basically what we're doing. One thing that I want to point out is with line weight, like my tool on Photoshop gets that much line weight. What I don't want to do is come back in and then start trying to color in to get thicker line weight. If my tool doesn't get that thick a line weight, then leave it alone. Usually that winds up with a clogged up, kind of gross looking line, like a crack in the road that got filled with tar. For a clean, simple, confident, beautiful drawing, just stick with the range of line weight that your tool provides you. So that's pretty much it. That's how this assignment should go. When everything's done, when the pen's all dry, then you would go ahead and erase out the pencil, and you should be left with this nice, clean, confident set of lines. Remember, we don't want these scratchy, sketchy lines like this, unless you're representing a texture like this, but even then it should be controlled. It shouldn't just be chicken scratch back and forth.